Hey, y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Maddie, and today we are talking about summer, specifically a summer schedule. Like, have you ever been so excited to sleep in now that it's summer break because you don't have to thug it out in the school drop-off line? And then you suddenly realize that your kids are home all day and pretty much eating around the clock. And that week-long package of groceries you got, for the week, it's like gone in 3 days because the kids are home. Maybe it's just my kids. I don't know. Maybe it's not your kids, right? But if you're part of the perfect posse and you have a perfectly scheduled summer break with like a carefully curated schedule week to week, this is not the episode for you. This is for my magic makers and my action takers who were just excited for summer break initially and kind of let their kids go a little bit crazy for a week or two. And now they know that they need a plan so they can stay sane for the rest of the break. So today I want to talk about the summer schedule because it is something that we really had to get into last year. So we have 3 kids. They're 9, 6, and 4. And so here at the house, we actually have the 2 oldest, my girls, they're 9 and 6, and they're actually at home for summer break. This started last year because before all 3 of them were going to a private school that had a year-round schedule, which is fantastic, by the way. But now the girls go to a different school and they have a summer break. And we just made the decision to keep them home. It's something about just having them home, just to allow them to enjoy the house and to do like regular schmegular summer activities with us that I really did like. And also, we're really blessed because both my parents and Chris's parents live close by. So if they're not with us, they're usually with their grandparents. But for, I would say about 60 to 70% of the time, they're with us. And so we really wanted to keep them home to just show them basic life skills, shout out to soft skills, and I really just wanted the opportunity to deepen my relationship with them. Now, Christian, our 4-year-old, he gets a couple of weeks off at a time during the summer, so about 20% of the time, it's all 3 of them together. Now, from time to time, we will do like a week-long camp, like gymnastics or theater camp. But for the most part, the kids are home here with us during the summer. And let's be honest, summer camp for the entirety of summer break is super expensive. So maybe it's not in the budget for you. But even if it is in the budget for you, you're probably thinking about all the other things you could do with that money, So whether or not you decide to send your kids for the entire summer break to camp, or you actually want them to be home majority of the time, this episode is for you because we're going to talk about how to create a summer schedule that just helps you stay sane when your kids are at home. I imagine that my kids are like your kids, right? So they are probably convincing you that they're hungry every 15 minutes and trying to get away with being on their iPads all day and letting you know that they don't want to go outside. They don't want to do this and they don't want to do that. They just want to play games on the screens all day. Now, here's what I'll let you know. This is not the episode where I tell you that you need to be with your kids for 8 hours a day, every day of summer break, and to swear away screen time. Honestly, it's just not realistic. For most of us, we give our kids screen time, and it's not something to feel bad about. But I do believe that we can use screen time productively during the summer whenever we need to get things done. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the 5 things you need to create a summer schedule for kids at home so you can maximize your time, make memories that are meaningful, and the kids enjoy their summer break and you enjoy it too. So to get the show notes for this episode, be sure to head on over to maddiejames.com/011. That's maddiejames.com/011. And for this episode, I've created an incredible resource that I can't wait for you to get, the Magic Summer Schedule Guide. Now, in this guide, you'll get over 50 ideas of meals, activities, gear, independent play, and a calendar template for you to use to get through summer break in your own specific, personal, and magic way. Now, to get this resource, you can get it exclusively in the And More community in the resource library. And More is my private community. So to learn how you can get access to this resource, head on over to maddiejames.com/011. That's maddiejames.com/011 to get the Magic Summer Schedule Guide. Okay, let's get into it. Now, you know how I feel about thinking time. And what I will say is that you definitely want to utilize your summer mornings to make sure you make space for thinking time, okay? So I get it. Things are a little bit more lax. They're not as structured during the summer. However, I still think it is really, really smart to make sure you plan how to steward that time. And this isn't about being obsessive, right? Or over the top. But this is about making sure that you get to use your time the way you want to. I mean, in a blink, you'll look back and be like, what did we do for those last 6 weeks? And so I want to make sure that you feel like you got to use your summer in a way where you got to do the things that you wanted to do for your kids, with your kids, but that you also got to do the things that you wanted to do during the summer as well. Now, one thing that I like about the summer magic is that while magic means meaningful, aesthetically pleasing, goal-oriented, intentional, and consistent, in this case, it means meals, activities, gear, ideas, and calendar. So once you have those 5 things in order for summer, honestly, you can pretty much design a summer schedule that allows you to enjoy it as well as your kids. So let's start with meals. I think one of the hardest decisions that we make as women for our families is deciding what they're going to eat. And I think meals and snacks can definitely become one of those things that get on your nerves if you don't properly plan. Now, I think a lot of times it's exciting, especially like for somebody like myself who makes my kids lunch for school. I think it can be really exciting to be like, I don't have to make school lunch anymore. It definitely was something I was very happy not to do for the 2 weeks that I had off before Christian started his summer session at school. However, what I quickly learned is that my kids are going to ask for food every single 15 minutes like I never fed them in their life before. And that just can become really daunting. It can become really expensive, especially when we don't set some rules and boundaries. And so I get it. You know, you want your kids to be able to snack freely and be able to enjoy themselves in their homes. However, we also want to make sure that you can stay sane, because when your kids ask you for a snack and you're just like thinking, you know, off the top of your head, maybe because you're tackling emails or you're doing something else, it can be so easy to point them to something that's overly processed, point them to something that's too salty, too sweet, or too insert whatever characteristic here. So one thing I really, really like to do is to make sure I have a very clear summer meal plan. Now, this is included in the Magic Summer Schedule Guide, but it's also something that, you know, I pretty much enforce year round, but I gotta say, I emphasize it during the summer, because before you know it, girl, this week-long worth of groceries that you had in your pantry, in your fridge, they're gone in 2 days, especially if you have more than one kid, you know? Because honestly, what happens is when kids are bored, they're like, you know what? I'll eat something. You know what? Mom said I should do this. I'm all of a sudden hungry, right? And you're feeding them just like you always do. You feed them 3 meals, but since they have a lot of idle time, they're like, how can I figure out a way to occupy this time? And eating is usually one of it. And eating is usually one of those ways. So, you know, my first rule when it comes to meal planning is buy what's in season, right? And the great thing about the summer months is there's so much delicious fruit and produce that are in season. You know, everything from berries to melons to stone fruit, depending on if it's the beginning, middle, or end of summer. They end up being in season and they're incredibly affordable. I mean, definitely check out your sales papers, like for your local grocery store or farmer's market or wherever it is that you shop, to make sure that you can get the best deals. But I usually like to do one big grocery pickup or, you know, delivery on like Saturdays. But I also like to do a little like pickup, you know, during the week, usually maybe on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, to kind of fill in the gaps. Sometimes I'll forget things or things will run out, or maybe people took to a certain type of fruit or some type of snack that I want to re-up on. So buy what's in season. Not only is it going to be budget friendly, but then it's also going to be much more nutritious and nutrient dense for them as well. So we don't have any babies at the house anymore, which is really crazy. So this may not work if your kids are still maybe toddlers or even babies. But now that the kids are 9, 6, and 4, one thing that I like to do is to kind of set up like a self-serve station, especially in the morning time. If it's a morning that I choose to sleep in, or maybe Chris is sleeping in and I'm out working out, you know, maybe I'm out on the track or I'm at the gym and I'm working out, I still want you to be able to eat. Certainly we don't want the kids to starve. But I think one thing that definitely encourages them to take initiative is creating situations like a self-serve station where they can make their own breakfast. So you could do things like, individually packed snacks or whatnot. So applesauces, muffins or whatnot. And you don't even have to do the packaged stuff. I definitely encourage you to batch cook stuff and batch prepare stuff. You could do muffins, which I love to do because everybody likes a different flavor of muffin. I like to batch bake muffins and then I'll go ahead and put them either in like Ziploc bags or mason jars. You can do overnight oats. You can pre-package cereal and actually put the milk, whether you do dairy milk, cow's milk, whether you do nut milk, whether you do oat milk, and you can actually put it in like those clear kind of condiment containers so they're no mess. And that is really, really helpful because they can pour the milk in there without it becoming a catastrophe, right? And you pretty much set them up for success, right? And then certainly, of course, you can pre-wash and pre-cut fruit like apples, orange slices, or of course, wash your grapes, wash your berries, and even going ahead and pre-packaging it. So basically they're not eating a whole pack of grapes, which can definitely get pricey depending on how many kids you have. I love doing this because it just makes it easy for them to grab and go. You can keep dry snacks, of course, available on a shelf that is in the pantry or on the counter for them. In our refrigerator, we actually have like this middle section called a flex zone. And so I like to put prepackaged things like pre-washed or pre-cut fruit or even like Go-Gurts in there so they can grab it and go. So creating self-serve stations gives them independence to go grab some food, but it also allows you to kind of look and take some quick inventory on what has been eaten a lot. And then you can even create rules around it. Like, hey, let's keep it to 3 snacks, between after having breakfast and before dinner, no snacks after 4 p.m., especially if you're going to have something like a 5:30 dinner. And so one thing that has been really helpful with the 3 kids at 9, 6, and 4, I'm actually pretty surprised how it worked, is just setting that really clear boundary. It's like, listen, we don't do any processed sugar after 4 p.m. and I usually don't do any snacks period after 4:30. One thing I like for them to be is hungry at dinner time. The last thing I want to do is let you snack up until 15 minutes before dinner. And then when you get to dinner, we waste a bunch of food because we didn't set a boundary on that. So even having a little snack curfew has been really helpful for me as well. So don't be afraid to create boundaries. I think creating boundaries while giving them the space to be independent, of course, with something like a self-serve station is really great. And then, of course, having a meal plan is always going to be really helpful. So if you need some ideas on how to create a meal plan that's magic for your family, be sure to check out episode 4, How to Meal Plan for Your Family. You can check it out over at maddiejames.com/004. Okay, so after meals and snacks, the magic in your summer schedule is activities. These babies need something to do, okay? Every day they gonna need something to do. And at first that can seem really daunting, especially for me because, girl, the way I'm just not the activity parent, right? I'm definitely the aesthetically pleasing parent. Like, let's make a charcuterie board. Let me bake you a cake. Let me go ahead and create something that's looking very cute in my little eats meal planning framework. I love to do that kind of stuff. I like to make your room look pretty. I like to get balloons for special occasions. That's really more my jam. I'm even a heart-to-heart, let's have conversation or Bible study together kind of parent. But when it comes to activities, I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not necessarily like the go-to parent. I think Chris is when it comes to activities, just because he's much more athletic than I am and the kids love to run around and I'm like, ooh, mommy's kind of breathing a little hard. I'm sweating a little bit, but I've definitely gotten better over the years, especially when I plan activities ahead. So one thing that is going to help severely is just having at least one activity plan for the day. So that activity can be a slew of things, right? If you have a front or a backyard and you have like an inflatable pool or even a sprinkler, let them go run outside, and let them like enjoy themselves in that capacity. Now I get it. On days like that, I definitely won't lie to you. To me, it's a little bit of an extra lift because you don't want people tracking up, their wet feet and wet hands throughout the house. But having that activity gives them something to look forward to. But the real thing that you want to make sure that you accomplish in the schedule is having a specific activity scheduled for the day. Now, depending on what it is, you want to schedule it in the morning or you want to schedule it in the evening. If it's outdoor, you usually want to avoid being out there in like the mid-afternoon just because the sun is really high, and depending on where you live, the temperatures get really, really hot. Because we live in Georgia, the temperatures get super high. By the time it's like 12 noon, by the time lunchtime hits, it's really, really hot. So usually if I want to take them to the pool or do any kind of outdoor activity, I like to do it in the morning or I like to do it in the evening, like after dinner time. What has been working beautifully for us is letting the girls ride their bikes, usually around that 10 o'clock hour. For me, that works because typically Monday through Thursday, I'll do the morning live with my private community and more. And I'm usually done around 9, and usually I'll knock out like my things to do list, have a little thinking time, answer some emails. And then from like 10 to 11:30, I can be outside with them. What's great is since they're old enough, I let them go, pretty much far enough to where I can hear them and they can hear me, but they can ride around. We live in a cul-de-sac, so that's always really nice. And then I'm outside on the front porch with my laptop because it's not smoldering hot. The front of our house gets shade in the morning, so this has been working beautifully. And just simply getting outdoor time is really, really important. For most of us, wherever we live, we don't get a lot of rain this time. So making sure your kids get outdoor time along with yourself, right? And again, you don't necessarily have to be playing with them. Sometimes it's nice, and that's definitely something I'm intentional about. But most of the time, especially in that morning time where for somebody who I work from home, I work for myself, I need to be on the computer in the morning, just sitting on the front porch and knocking out an hour of work while they get some outdoor time is really, really helpful. They get to have a good time, and I also then get to get some work done. Being outside doesn't have to be deep. It just has to be deliberate. If they have bikes, let them have it. If they have skates, a scooter, sidewalk chalk, bubbles, you will be surprised how happy your kids get simply because they got their daily dose of vitamin D and you went and spent, let's say $30, $40 at Target for them to have something to do when they go outside. So just give them something to do every single day, preferably outside. I think there's some indoor ideas that we can discuss further in this episode, but being outside is just always going to be a win-win situation, not only for you, but for your kids as well. If you don't have a yard or your neighborhood doesn't have a pool or whatnot, check out your local nearby parks and just schedule that time accordingly. If you're married and you can switch off with your spouse and be like, hey, can you take the kids to the park, from 9:30 to 11? I want to get some work done, or switch off. That's always really helpful, especially if you both work at home. For a lot of us, especially since COVID, a lot more of us work from home. And so that is the beauty of having the kids at home when you work from home too. You can take these little breaks, like 60, 90-minute breaks, take them outdoors, take them to go do something, go have a meal with them. And that connection, it's just so meaningful to them. They just want time with you and just for you to pay attention to them uninterrupted. And also, they just want outside time as well. So my girls are noticeably in a better mood and sleep much better. Girl, when you get your kids outside, when their head hits that pillow, it's lights out because they got a little bit of sun, a little bit of vitamin D. So just make some space for outdoor time when it comes to activities. Screen time is your BFF during the summer break. I can't stress that enough, especially when you use it productively. Now, one rule that I've been implementing is I really, really try my best to not let them have more than 1 hour consecutively on a screen, be it television, unless they're watching a movie, or on their small screens, right? Whether it's an iPad, a Fire Pro, whatever have you. And so one way that we have been using screen time productively is allowing them to earn screen time. So I allow them to earn up to 2 hours of screen time, right? So when you wake up, you need to go ahead and get yourself together. Like, let's get this self-care action together. I need you to brush your teeth. I need you to wash your face, and I need you to get changed. And for our household, that really works with them since they're 9, 6, and 4. So every time they do one of, I think there's 8 things that they can do. They can get dressed, they can make up their bed, they can do Bible study, they can read their library books, have independent playtime, and even have some just like straight up downtime, even if it's for 15 minutes, and they can earn 15-minute increments for screen time. When I do screen time blocks, when I know that I either need to jump on a call, when I know that I need to film a podcast, when I know that I need uninterrupted work time, that's when I will schedule screen time or even nap time or independent play time. This has been huge for me, and it's been really, really helpful for the girls to just find other things to do. And it's been really interesting to see how now they're coming up with more things since they know those things need to be done. Really what I've noticed is having like a screen time block in the morning and a screen time block in the afternoon, usually like right before dinner time, is like such a really great little time block to have that. I don't mind doing like an hour in the morning, and then even like right before dinner, an hour to even an hour and a half, depending on how, especially if I'm trying to wrap some work up before cooking dinner, is really, really helpful. So just treating screen time as a time for me to have time uninterrupted, where they feel like they get to do what they want and I get to knock out things that I need to do, has been really, really helpful. And you can make it work for you however you see fit, I think it's really about making sure that that screen time isn't like this doomed thing, but also making sure that the kids realize that it's a nice to have and not a must have. And so treating it as a way like, hey, this is a privilege you get to earn by doing things that you need to do, just like simply taking care of yourself, helping load the dishwasher, right? We've included a couple of chores in there, like loading the dishwasher or throwing clothes in the dryer or even putting their laundry away. And that has also allowed us to create routines, which we'll talk about in a second, that where everybody contributes and gets things done. And like I said earlier, last but not least, having activities, just at least one planned every day, and it doesn't have to be you leaving the house. It can be something small, yet very impactful, is just giving them something to look forward to. And so when you have activities, it really does help make your kids who are at home for the summer break magic. All right, so let's talk about gear, because you're going to need some gear, right? So one thing I want you to make sure that you do is to just do some inventory, right? For us, I looked in the backyard and I was embarrassed of what had happened to the umbrella that was on the picnic table, just because I left it out there. I didn't store it in storage like I know I should have. I just left it out there. So it just got beat up during the winter and all of the stuff. And so we have to replace the umbrella. It's actually coming in later on this week. And so for me, I realized okay, having the right gear definitely gets me peace, because when everybody's asking Mom, is there a towel? Is there a this? Is there a that? That can be really daunting. So having the right gear, especially if you're blessed to have a yard, be it backyard, front yard, or a park nearby or a pool nearby, really does help make your activities a lot better. Now, in the Magic Summer Schedule Guide, we definitely talk about the gear that you can get for backyard, for pool, for beach, or for park. That'll definitely not only help your kids out, but that'll help you out as well. One thing I like to make sure is that maybe it's been 3 years now, maybe 3 or 4 years, I invested in personalized beach towels for the kids. So now when it comes to them getting their beach towels, I can send them to go get it, because everybody has a specific color and a specific personalized towel that they know that they should get when it's time to go to the pool or a water park or even the beach. So having personalized products, it can definitely get pricey, but for something like a towel, they're not going to outgrow those for a minute. So having personalized, towels, having swimsuits that actually fit, those are things that definitely count in moments like this. So making sure that you have gear for the places you frequent during the summer. We usually go to the pool at least once a week. We have a pool here in our neighborhood. So I like to just make sure that they have pool toys, everybody's floaties still fit, and everybody's, beach towels are ready to go. Making sure that they're just washed and dried every week is really smart too. I don't know about you, but even though school is not in session, during the summer, I am still driving the kids around all the places. Everybody got somewhere to go. And so one thing that has been massive for me is having a summer car kit. Now, a summer car kit simply is a kit. Just get one of those clear plastic containers, maybe 20 quarts, 30 quarts with a lid on it, and just having things in there. Maybe depending on how many kids you have that amount of towels in there, some sunscreen, a couple of bottles of water, right? Some bug spray, and just having some coloring books, just things to have in there, and even a blanket. Sometimes we're driving home from Alabama because we like to go visit our family there during the summertime, and coming back, maybe Chris has the AC on, or maybe somebody wants to fall asleep. Having a blanket is is just always nice to have. Or having a picnic blanket is also really good to have if you want to go out for a picnic as well. So having a summer car kit definitely sets me up for success when it comes to summertime. So let's talk about ideas, because I think that having great ideas is going to be so helpful for you, because it's really about making sure that you just don't have to, yes, sometimes being spontaneous is awesome, but for the most part, I think a lot of us have so many open tabs in our head that you don't want to have to make something up on the spot. You want to be able to have an arsenal of summer ideas that you can pull from on a regular basis, right? So one of those ideas is taking advantage of your local free events. You will be astonished when you start looking for this, how many free events are actually readily available to you, okay? You deserve this. You are a taxpayer. You need to take advantage of all of the free, awesome things going around. The library will have a list of things that they're doing throughout the summer. So will local venues, especially like if you have a venue near you where they have concerts or shows. And even a lot of the parks nearby have a lot of really fun activities. In fact, recently last week, they had a free Juneteenth kind of like vendor event that was super fun, and we drove past it and we did not know, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is why I got to make my list. The list of local free events is always so important to us, because patroning local businesses and Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses is so important to us as a family, and it's really something that I want to make sure that the kids realize is important. So getting out there to these local free events, you learn a lot more about your community, you learn about the business that are in your community, and then it's free, which is a win-win situation, So definitely take advantage. Ask your local library or these local venues if they have a calendar available. Check out their websites, or you visit them physically and ask if they have any calendars. We just did this with our local library, and I've already been able to add some events to our summer family calendar. Now, this next idea is really fun, but the kids will likely get carried away. So set a timer maybe for something like 20, 30 minutes and create a summer bucket list. My goodness, this ended up being so much more fun than I thought it would be, because kids are so imaginative. So disclaimer, your kids are definitely going to say extravagant things. My 6-year-old was like, go to Hawaii. The other one was like, we need to go to Disney World and the Disney cruise at the same time. And I'm like, listen, we're only people, right? We're only mere mortals, But what's really cool is that the kids will also surprise you and say some really awesome and simple things that is super accessible to you right now, right? Like going to your local ice cream shop and having ice cream together. You'll be amazed at the super simple things that you didn't even think twice of that mean so much to your kids. So not only will the summer bucket list give you ideas, but what will also happen is that you'll learn what matters to your kids and what's meaningful to them, and be able to check 2 or 3 of those things off whenever you guys are looking for something to do. Because the goal isn't to do everything on the summer bucket list, but it is to see what matters to your kids and at least check one of those things off. That to me is really setting up your summer break up for success, because doing what your kids ask lets them know that you listened to them and you saw them and you heard them, and then you actually did it for them. And then last but not least, the one idea that helps us get all of our, not only ideas for summer, but our activities and have the gear in the right place, is resetting the house into summer mode. I think that the house is usually in like school mode, holiday mode, or summer mode. And my friend, I cannot iterate that you're setting your house up into summer mode will absolutely help you get this summer activity gear idea going on. Like the summer magic will be flowing in your house. So making things like sandals and, water shoes more readily available, the pool toys, making sure that they have easy access to their summer towels, just making sure that those things are easily and readily available versus having to go dig in the depths of the linen closet or anything like that, really does allow you to have a much easier time and allow you to put your house in order specifically for summer, which is a win-win situation, right? So knowing that the house will go back to school mode, in the next few weeks is also something to look forward to, where it's like, okay, summer was great. When you set your house up for the season it's in, it allows us It allows you to use your house in a much more productive and useful way. So I love resetting the house for summer because it lets the kids know like, hey, we'll probably be going to the pool this week. Oh, I can easily find my sandals. Because let's face it, like you might have an activity plan and the worst thing is trying to look for the thing for 25 minutes because you didn't set up the house in summer mode. Last but not least for magic summer schedule is calendar. My friend, you got to plan things out, especially if you work from home. But even if you don't work from home, this is even more reason to get your calendar together. And I say take it one day at a time, but plan the week ahead. Take it one day at a time, but plan the week ahead. It gives you and the kids something to look forward to, and it allows you to kind of set your mind up for success to know what kind of capacity you should have day to day, right? Because the capacity you need to have on a pool day is definitely different than the capacity you need for a day where they just get to play in the backyard with a bubble machine. So plan the week ahead. It also lets them know like, oh, this is what we can expect on Thursday. We're going to go to the pool, but on Saturday, we're going to definitely do a backyard movie night. So all of those things are nice and fun. Okay, so hear me out. Summer is a lot more relaxed, but baby, we still need order. We're still people of order. We serve a God of order, okay? Create a summer morning routine, okay? I think there should be a summer wake up time. I don't let the kids sleep past 8 o'clock, right? Because then when it's time to go to bed, it's really hard to put everybody to bed. Christian is the only kid who's in school, so he's usually in bed around that time. And it's a little bit harder too because like the sun stays out a little longer. But for the most part, the kids are in bed around like 8:30, 9 o'clock, during the evening. So we don't let them sleep any longer than 8 a.m. I just you need to get up, get yourself together, eat some stuff, enjoy the sunlight. Like you don't need to be sleeping until 10 or 11 at night. I mean, in the morning, you just don't. If that makes me too much, then welcome to the too much club. But you need to have a designated, I'm not waking you up at 6, So having a designated wake up time and having a morning routine that everybody knows, okay, this is how we get our day started, even though it's summer break, is really, really helpful. And keeping the kids on routine is great too, because then it also allows them to still have structure when you're in that week where you have to shift them into back to school mode. And then, of course, schedule rest. Schedule it. Schedule it for them. Schedule it for you. Schedule rest. It can be so easy. We had one of these weeks last week where we had something to do every single day. It was a baby shower. It was a pool party. It was a birthday party. It was church. We had something to do every single day. And while I'm grateful that we have friends and family that we get to do things with and stuff like that, it just was a lot. And I think that scheduling rest is so important. It is very, very productive. And it also teaches the kids that you don't need to be on 24/7. So just scheduling rest. For us, we still do a screen-free Saturday, and we break that fast with movie night, and we still do that every Saturday. So guess what? On Saturday, my kids are the most imaginative ever because we take those screens away, and because I'm during the week, you get to have screens, you get to do other things. So scheduling rest is productive, and I can't encourage you to do it enough. You'll be so glad that you did. Lastly, in your calendar, make sure you balance out those times where you need uninterrupted time with your kids' independent playtime, reading time, nap time, or screen time. That's a really great way to create balance, not only for your kids, but also for you. I notice that when I say that I'm going to do something with them, but I'm trying to squeeze in work, that's when I yell at them. That's when I get frantic, right? Have you ever yelled at your kid and fussed with them when you told them you were going to do something for them, but you're not giving them your undivided attention? So make sure you use your calendar to schedule your uninterrupted working time with times that they're going to be on their own where they know they won't really necessarily need you. Screen time, nap time, reading time is always really great for that. And that, my friend, does it for this episode. Listen, the magic of your summer schedule really is meal and snack time. It's activities, it's gear, it's ideas of what to do together as a family and to do specifically in the summer. And then last but not least, your weekly calendar. I mean, to me, you do have to take it one day at a time. I mean, that is what the magic of life is. But planning your summer 1 week at a time is really, really helpful. And while it's more relaxed and it's not as structured as the school year, having a really great summer does require you to plan it. So make sure that you make it work for you. Of course, you want the kids to have an incredible time, but it doesn't have to be at the expense of your peace and sanity. Like I said, make the summer schedule work for you. That's what makes it magic. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Now, if you know a friend who has kids at home this summer, please share this episode with her or him right now. I think that is definitely going to help them, because it's definitely helped me as I have figured out how to have kids at home over the last couple of years. Now, before you go, to get the show notes for this podcast, head on over to maddiejames.com/011. That's maddiejames.com/011. And again, for this episode, I created the Magic Summer Schedule Guide. Now, in this, you'll have over 50 ideas for summer meals and snacks, activities, gear, independent play ideas, and the weekly calendar template specifically for the summer. Now, this is going to be available in the And More community, which is my private community over in the resource library. So to find out how you can get that guide, head on over to maddiejames.com/001. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We are available over on Apple Podcasts, over on Spotify, or of course you can watch it on YouTube if you're not watching it already. If you haven't subscribed on Apple or Spotify, please do so. And be sure to check out the YouTube channel and subscribe there as well. Now, one thing that would really, really help, if you could just take 60 seconds out, if you haven't already, please rate this episode. Go ahead and give it a rating and leave a review, because whenever you take the time to rate and review the podcast, it helps us find more incredible listeners like you. And if you have been looking for more friendships with like-minded women who want more in both their life and their business, I'm inviting you to join my private community And More. I go live Monday through Thursday every morning at 8:30 a.m. and we even do monthly live virtual events. To learn more about how you can join the community and get a 7-day free trial, head on over to maddiejames.com/community. All right, you guys, I think that is everything. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Remember, every day matters. You might as well make it magic. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.